Greetings YouTubers, welcome to the channel. Well, today we are going to be working on this 2010 F-150 4.6. We got a little bit of noise in the front end going clunkety clunk clunk clunk, and I've been into there looking, and looks like we are going to have to replace it with a couple of these new sway bar end links. These are heavy duty. They make a couple of different versions for different years. This is a heavier duty model for the 2010. Now they make another model which is not quite as heavy duty, and I believe that is from 2002 all the way up to about 2007. I believe you'll have to check your compatibility charts, but there is a picture of it. Nevertheless, this is what we're going to be putting on, and I did take it out for a spin, and here's what it looks like under there. The noise it's making, you can hear the noise, and you can watch this thing kind of bounce around there and see what it's doing. So that is the goal for now. So what we've got to do is get both these wheels off. The sway bar end links aren't too bad to take off under there. So here they are. Here is a look at the two that I bought. I think I paid about $48 off of eBay, off of a dealer. And you got to watch what you're getting. So, you know, make sure you get the right part number. These are the heavy duty ones, and the way you figure this out is they have really two big thick pieces of metal here, and they have this little boot here. Some of these you can actually buy with a grease fitting on the side. I almost opted to do that, but I figured, well, I'll just put something on here like this. This has a cover on it, and the grease that's in there should be okay for now. So having said all that, we'll go ahead and start working on this truck, and we're going to see if we can get these swapped out. Shouldn't be too bad. Alright, now before you take the wheel off, we got it up in the air. Just go ahead and check it right now. Make sure there's nothing here hidden. You don't want any surprises, but everything here seems to be pretty tight. So we'll go ahead and get these sway bar end links off, since all this here checks out for now. Alright, let's get this wheel off here. Alright, so there she be, and right here, hey, I can actually spin that washer now, look at that. So I got in here earlier, and I thought I could tighten this down, but this whole thing here spins. This part doesn't, so it's kind of gotten broken loose right about here. If you look closely, this thing's actually at an angle, so it's actually bent. So we're going to try to get the bottom bolt out. And if we can't get this one here off, we'll just take the cutting wheel and we'll cut this off, and hopefully it'll come out fairly easy. It's the bottom that I'm kind of worried about, but we'll see what we can do here. Alright guys, well, no dice here. This whole thing is spinning underneath. That nut is not going to come off. It looks like we're going to have to take my cutting wheel and try to cut down in here as far as we can, and if we can, maybe we can kind of get this out of here. The top is no problem. We can get a cutting wheel in here and just knock this right off. But it's this bottom one. It actually goes up to a hole in the frame right here, the outer knuckle, I should say, down here on the bottom. And there's nothing, there's no way you can get anything up in there. So we're going to have to try to cut up in here, somehow knock it out from up here. So we'll see what we can do. Alright, so you can see this is kind of complicated. I took the boot off that was on the bottom of here. I just kind of ripped it off here. And I wanted to show you when I put the socket under here, you can see the whole thing kind of turns. And this is the dilemma I've got right now. So the nut is not coming off. So I might be able to take a pair of vice grips and somehow grip that. If I can grip that, then maybe I can get this nut off. If not, I'm going to have to take a cutting wheel and cut in there and try to cut that somehow, but that's, wow. That's what I'm going to have to try to do. So we'll try the vice grips first. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to work because these vice grips aren't, you can't get it in there because you got this place here cut in this lower control arm. It won't allow you to get these all the way up in here. So what we're going to do, we'll just take the cutting wheel, go ahead and cut the rest of this off. Then if we can leave enough of this sticking up here, then we can get in here with some vice grips and try it that way. But let's go ahead and take out the top and the bottom. Well, we'll cut it here and we'll take out the top, get the top out of the way anyway for now. Alright, so let's give this a shot. All right, that went faster than I thought it would. All right, there's the washer. Yeah, there is a big washer that sits up on top of that there. So there that is, and it looks like that's ready to come out. Yeah. All right. So now we'll go ahead and cut the bottom of this off right here and see what happens. Hopefully we can get most of that off. All right, I'll set the camera up here and hopefully you can see it. Hopefully my hands and the grinder will not be in the way. So let's give this a shot on the bottom. All right, well, got it off. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Hey, you can see how this is set up. It's weird. It's like it's got a movable part on this end, and on this end it's got this other movable part. But now, even that we got that cut off, you can kind of see the issue that I got there. If we can get some vice grips on this, if we can hold that, then we can probably get that nut off and we'll be good. If not, we're going to have to somehow take that cutting wheel and cut down at least to this washer. Then if we can do that, then knock this out. It should come out, because remember the top one here had this washer. That looks like it's the same kind of washer. So we'll try, see what we can get done here. Hey, let me know where you're watching from right now. Oh boys, ladies and gentlemen, did I get lucky here. It looks like we can get this off. The first time I put the vice grips on there, they popped off, but I got another bite on it. And it looks like the nut is turning. Oh, I'm so relieved. And you can see how it goes down into that control arm, and really the only way you would be able to get that out is take a small wheel, or maybe a... Oh, well, that went that. It slipped off, but I'll get another bite here, or maybe I can just push up on this a little higher here and get a really good bite on it. So there's such little room here, and I keep hitting the camera. But hey, I'm going to show you the downsides of working on vehicles too and making YouTube videos. So, all right, let me try that. Get another bite on this. All right, well, that was worth a try. Those vice grips will not stay on there. They just keep popping off. It's just that nut. It's got a ways to go. I can feel on the bottom. So what we're going to do is take a screwdriver, a big screwdriver, and since the nut is up a little ways here, let me just see if I can maybe put a screwdriver under like it's this, and maybe get that wheel on the top of this and cut this small section off. If I can get that off, then this should drop out of there, because this piece you see here is actually the washer. There's a washer right there. It's not part of the sway bar end link, so that's what we're going to have to do. So, oh well. All right, since that was pretty much a fail, what we're going to do is take my 18mm socket, got a little short extension, and I've got a jack. Yes, you know what we're going to do. Hey, work smarter, not harder. And we're going to put that right there and put a little pressure on that, and look at that. That's up high enough now. I should be able to get my grinding wheel in there, cut the top part of that off, and get that out of there. All right, so let's do that. So let's try that. Let me get this hooked up. And I think I got some pretty decent lighting there for you guys. And now our wheel, we should be able to get in there. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Live action. Alright, I think we got her. At least that part. Looks like I cut into the frame a little bit there, but well, that partially worked, but the problem is this right here is still part of this bottom piece where that bolt is on there as part of this housing. It's actually part of that housing there. So what we're going to have to do at this point is just take well, what I'm trying to say is part of that is this right here that's still on there. Part of the washer came off, but that's still on there and it's still being pushed up. So what we're going to do is take a grinding wheel, turn it sideways, and that should be enough to grind this down just enough to get it down to the stud where it'll slide through there. So so this is probably the best thing to do, I guess, at this point. Once you get this cut off, just take your small grinding wheel. If you got one that's wore down even more, that actually works out pretty good too. So we'll just do it this way. We'll just grind this down until we get it all the way down so we can knock it out. All right, you can see where we're at. We're getting this apart slowly. Oops. Let me zoom in a little bit for you so you can actually see what's going on. I've just about got it down to the stud where it'll go the rest of the way through. And you're going to have a grinder, folks, to do this. So let me just see if I can get the rest of this out of here while you're watching before my camera battery goes dead. Alright, let's see if I can get it. Alright, I'm going to take my jack and lower this a little bit. Oh, there we go. Whew. Man, what a job. All for that. You can see that bolt was not, that nut was not coming off of that bolt, or the stud was not, the stud was not coming off the nut, or the nut was not coming off the stud. It wasn't giving it up. So there we go. That's what you got to do to get that off. So, but you can see right here how low this is, so you can't really get a cutting wheel in there. It cut a little bit there, but it won't hurt anything. So just make sure your wheel, if you have a cutting wheel that's kind of wore down, it'll actually get in here a little bit better. So there we go. Woo, glad that's over with. Now to the other side. Now, as a side note, you typically would just take a socket and hold the bottom of this and put a wrench on here and turn this nut. Now, when you're taking these rusty ones off, good luck with that. See, you can get something in there like that, but there's no way that would come off. So this is typically how you would do it if you don't live in the Northeast and you live down south where there's no rust. But typically, this is how we put these on. And sometimes you'll have a place down here where you can put a wrench on the bottom of this, and this will keep this whole thing from turning. But these do not have that, so this is just how they designed it. So just so you know. And now I've got this all cleaned up. I put some paint on it, so it's in pretty good shape now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put a couple of jack stands on this side, lower this side down, take the jack, go to the other side, take the wheel off, because we want to leave this sway bar end link here. I want to unhook the other side, because when we unhook the other side, this sway bar will go up and down, and it'll make it a little bit easier to put these back in. We can put the bottom ones in first, put the nut in, and lift this whole thing up, put the top end and lift it back down and tighten it up. That way, if you don't have one on one side and you're forcing the other side up because this side's still connected or something, it makes it a little bit harder. So we're going to go ahead and take the other side off just to make the job a little bit easier. All right, so on the passenger side, we'll do the same thing before we pop the wheel up. Let's just double check everything, make sure we don't have anything else here that might surprise us, a wheel bearing or tie rod in or something. So everything's pretty tight, so let's get this wheel off. And off we go. And you can see on this side, I got a brake pad here that's not quite wearing evenly. See, it's a little rusty here, but it's shiny, so now's a good time for me to check this out. Although the brakes feel just fine. Well, on this side, I thought maybe I could get my vice grips in there and just kind of hold this. But nope, the whole thing turns, so gotta whack the top and whack the bottom with a cutting tool. So, well, that's the way it goes. So let's get this one off. All right, there's that one, and she's smoking hot. By the way, these gloves are welder's gloves. You want something really heavy to wear, because if that grinder kicks back or something, you know, you can hurt your hands, even cut your hands. So that and safety glasses, please be careful, folks. But see, that's off now, and I can move the sway bar up and down a little bit, and that'll help things out. So now all we gotta do is cut the bottom of this out. I wonder if I could just pull that down, break it off. Probably not. Whew. Well, looks like we'll have to cut some more. I think we might be able to break it the rest of the way off. Yep. Alright, so I might be able to get lucky here and just take a hammer and break it off the rest of the way. Let's see. Maybe, maybe not. My wheel is not quite full, so I can't get way in there, so I'm going to have to probably get a full disc. But yeah, let me just put a full disc on here and cut just a little lower. I should be able to whack it off the rest of the way. Hey, before we do any more cutting, so I basically put another socket back up under this side, put the jack here, push up on this thing a little bit. That way it won't be spinning around when I'm cutting, and I should be able to cut that the rest of the way with a full disc wheel. Well, this one's been difficult. I'm right on the bottom. Right there. Gee whiz. That's more. Alright, just about there. It does not like me, that's for sure. Wow. Oh. Are you freaking kidding me? Unbelievable. There it is. Jeez. Now you wouldn't think something like this would be that hard to get into, but see, this is actually a small ball joint on both ends of these these outer sway bar end links. That's the problem. This thing's bouncing around, but I did scratch a little bit, won't hurt anything. Now I'll take the grinder and grind this off like we did the other side and finally knock it out. Alright, so we got a few scratch marks, no big deal. We should be able to knock this out now. Or what you can do is take your socket and put it underneath on the ratchet and just kind of spin it around. It may break loose that way. Yeah, see, that's almost out. Actually, I just got a tiny bit of grinding there to do to get the rest of that off there, then I should be good. Alright, that should be enough to knock that rest way out. There we go. Unbelievable. Sometimes I wonder why I do these videos. I might get 10 views, but hey, maybe this will help somebody else. Alright, so we got some paneling here. We got to get it all cleaned up. And now all we got to do is start putting everything back together. Alright, so we got the passenger side kind of started here. And I just put a pair of vice grips here to kind of hold this, although it doesn't do a 100% job, but it does hold it enough where you can really get this tight on the bottom, because it still wants to turn a little bit, but she ain't going nowhere, so that's off. And now we're not going to do anything with the top of this. We're going to go to the other side, on the driver's side, and go ahead and put it on, start it from the bottom up, and then go this way, so that way we won't have this in a bind. So one easy way to do this is take a pipe and just kind of put up under here and lift up on it, and you can actually just kind of slide this back up into the hole like that and go back to the other side and make sure that it didn't come out of the hole too far. And it looks like this one here should center right in the middle, so when we tighten down the other side, as you can see there, that should be right in the center. But keep an eye on it when we're tightening up the other side, just to make sure it doesn't get sideways or anything. And now we'll go ahead and put the nut on the bottom, tighten it up like we did the other side, put a pair of vice grips on here just to kind of keep it from turning a little bit. But remember, this ball joint in here, we'll try to spin a little bit, but this will assure that we can get this nice and tight for now. Alright, so surprisingly everything went in nice and tight. Didn't even have to do much at the top, it just torqued right down, and of course the bottom here, it's really tight. So it ain't going nowhere. So let's check the other side. And it looks like we did okay on this side. I was worried about this going sideways, but it did go up through the hole. I tapped on this and it popped the rest of the way up through here. So what we got to do now is go ahead and put a nut in here and finish this side up. Alright, so the top one is tight. It ain't going nowhere. I got a torque wrench. I'll go over there and torque them down off camera, but the whole idea is to put something like this, a wrench on the top of 5/16 here, hold that and put a wrench here and tighten this down, then you can put your socket on there. But sometimes the whole thing turns, so it begins, sometimes it's kind of a battle between how to grab this here without this turning and to be able to turn this. Now underneath here, it's just a totally different story. There's just no room to get in here and put something like this on there and put a wrench in there and all that. So this is why we just took vice grips and kind of held this best we could, and it did work out. So overall, we're pretty much done. One other quick thing. And the final thing here is, I don't know if you can notice, but there's just a small hole right here. I did cut through the frame here on the bottom of this lower control arm just a little bit, but it ain't going to hurt anything. And that was because we need to get a wheel in here, something small like this that's worn down, to get in here and cut the head of that off so we can knock it through there. So that's something you got to watch. And I got kind of in a hurry on this side. That's partially my fault, but the other side's fine. So just be aware of that. You know, getting this here off the small wheel is probably the hardest part of this whole job. But you know, unless you have a cutting torch, which 98% of you watching this video probably don't have one, this is probably the way you're going to have to do it, unfortunately. All right, so this job's pretty much done, except, you know, get you a little pipe. Probably just a small lug wrench would work, just to move this here around a little bit. But we are done. I'm happy we got this on, and it looks like this should take care of the noise, so I'm not going to bore you with putting the wheels on. We'll put everything back together, take it for a ride, and see how nice and quiet it is. So it's out with the old and in with the better. All right, everyone, pretty bumpy road. Check that out. Nice and quiet, no more rattling, no more bumping. And they used to do it really bad right here. And you can see it's quiet. And I'll go up this street here and not say a word, be quiet. And you can see it's just so much quieter. So I am really happy that I got that done. All right, guys, so there you go. Hopefully this video will help you out. And until my next video, guys, I will see you later.